It is crazy to me to think I have officially made it to 10 years. 10 years of owning a photography company that has literally gone all over the world. Um, I've got a whole lot to be thankful for and a really long story with some incredible lessons along the way. So if you're up for story time and hopefully some interesting new facts about Dee, welcome. If you don't know who I am and this is your first time meeting me, my name is Dee, and I am the owner of Dee Garone Photography in South Florida. I have, as of May 2023, have become the business owner, operator, accountant, marketing, editor, everything that's involved of a decade-old company. Let me take you back. It all started when I was a wee lad. I'm just kidding. I'm just going to tell you the 10-year story. Of course, it goes way farther back, and I've been in love with photography for a very long time. But I think 10 years is plenty of stories to talk about. So I actually graduated in 2013 from Ringling College of Art and Design in Sarasota, Florida. And while that was 4 years of its own insane stories and crazy lessons, the biggest takeaway was the fact that I got to dabble in every single variety of photography that was possible to teach in a college setting. Food photography, commercial photography, like fashion, product and lighting, of course, in studio, working with models, real models and not real models, a lot of random photos of my colleagues, my classmates, and a lot of lessons on how to actually manipulate your camera to do what you want it to do, a lot of instructions on lighting and how in every situation you're going to be able to make it do what you want if you have the right equipment and the right tools. Ringling was a crazy place, and it will always be a special place in my heart. I have amazing stories from it, but the biggest takeaway, my biggest lesson was you don't have to put yourself in this little tiny niche. You don't have to put yourself in this one thing. You don't have to just be one person and do one thing. My fun fact from college was I actually always dreamt of becoming a sci-fi makeup artist, which, I'm talking like Walking Dead level makeup on people. So while that didn't technically come to fruition, I did have a lot of opportunities to work with models and makeup and create some cool monsters, but that's not, of course, where I ended up going. Would still love to dabble some more in it, but I just kind of wait for Halloween now. Every expert that I talked to in the industry said, make sure you have practical experience with the tools. You don't necessarily need a makeup degree, but you need to understand how to work with a variety of materials. So I actually ended up getting a minor in fine arts, specifically in sculpture, was my focus. With that, I actually find myself leaning towards what is the DIY wedding industry because of it, and how I love crafting and I love creating and getting dirty with my hands. So a lot of what I do, or a lot of what I help with my brides, and what now, lessons learned, have a lot to do with that initial lessons and where I started with sculpture and fine arts. It kind of tied into my photography career. While I was in college, I actually started as a student worker at a art gallery in town. It was actually a alumni and student gallery at Ringling called Made By, which it is still open and is still flourishing. So any Ringling grads or students watching, definitely go and sell your work, show off all of your work there. So I started as a student worker there, and I met some incredible artists, and learned more than I ever could have imagined with a different perspective, and like looking at art from 100 different eyes. So once I graduated, I actually got an assistant manager position and helped coordinate events, put on gallery openings, coordinated with artists from now all over the world, but some big names that I am forever grateful to have been a part of and been in their presence. My biggest lesson, I think, from Made by Gallery and working as a gallery manager was the importance of a physical heirloom or a piece of art. And a lot of people don't translate your wedding or wedding photos nowadays to artwork. And I pride in trying to give not only a great experience and use all of my lessons, but I want to give you art. You leave with a magical day and all of these memories, but at the end of it, to have a canvas or now metal prints, which are my favorite, that will last forever and can be passed down from generation to generation, albums that are pieces of art in themselves. The importance of gallery walls and being able to blend your work or your day and this artwork into your home to perfectly fit on your walls is something that I love to assist with. Sometimes it's just the perfect combination of photos, or maybe there's a sequence starting from engagement all the way to family. And I want to be there to be able to always give you that heirloom and give you that gallery, art gallery of your own on your walls at home, whether or not it's weddings, it could be families, it could be newborns and baby and maternity. Those amazing happy memories are always at the forefront of your mind when you see it every day as you walk through your home. I worked as an assistant photographer while I was in Sarasota as well. And this studio was a huge gateway into quite a few other projects. And the gentleman who I worked with, Alex, was a godsend and kind of let me run loose with quite a bit of lighting techniques and testing out photography styles and being in a second shooter position is actually the best, honestly, because there's not really any pressure. I had another photographer who said it the best way. You're my insurance as an assistant, because if I don't get the shot, the second shooter is my insurance to make sure that even if I didn't get it from my angle, the kiss at the wedding, I got it from a secondary shot, or I'm busy dealing with posing the couple, but there's an adorable thing happening over in the corner with the flower girl. I'm able to catch that because I'm not focused on what's happening with the main photographer. I'm catching those candid moments and I'm doing my own thing and using a different perspective and getting creative a little bit more because my photos are additional insurance. Also, of course you want to take great photos. That's not the point, but you do have a lot more leeway than the main photographer, of course. So I had a lot of freedom, and I actually learned more than anything. I learned the importance of a team and having those people that you can count on. He worked with not only his own team and his own his editor and myself, and had a studio space where he can count on keeping all of his equipment, and managing all of that was fun too. But he had a team of people, a community around him that he could always count on if he needed a suggestion or a venue, if they needed any sort of weird props or something else. Any of these vendors he could kind of call on and say, hey, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. And everyone just kind of helped each other out. If there was a charity project that someone was looking for photography for, or there was something that someone wanted to create something magical but just didn't know how to do it, I'm forever grateful for being what sounds like a measly second shooter. I was just the assistant, but having that perspective took me places. It actually took me to what was a tiny gig, but probably one of the coolest ones I've done was assistant director at a indie film by The Source Productions, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had no idea what it took to be an assistant director, and that was wild. There was so many pieces, and of course, because it was an indie production, there was a lot more roles kind of tied into the AD role than is typically involved. I got to work with some incredible actors, just the coolest production people. I mean, it was beyond my wildest dreams, and you can find it on YouTube. It was an awesome production. It was accepted into multiple film festivals, and I'm very proud to say that was now I look back like a blip in my career, but showed me the production side of filmmaking and videography, which I do know led to me switching into video later on and having a greater appreciation for everything that goes into it. And my videographers know that I lean on them heavy, because while I can give you crazy ideas and I can set you up for success and make sure you have all the right props and all of the right pieces and all the things that you need to create this video, there's so much more than actually just videotaping. There's 75% of it is in post, but you can't just magic it. Well, okay, you can magic some stuff, but I don't have movie level production available to me. We're not going to be CGIing anything. We're using the footage that we have and just using great graphics and transitions and music to portray what we're trying to get at. So you have to get it done in the beginning, which is why wedding video, I love my videographers. They are phenomenal. They're in such a tight time frame with so little available to them. You really have to use the space as it is when you get thrown into it. I know their favorites are the getting ready suites when they're like absolutely ridiculous and everything is thrown everywhere, but you have to just be able to, on the fly, figure it out. And it's unlike anything else, video, film production, you are in control of every little piece. Honestly, the only variable is acting or weather, which happened a few times, but that's the only thing that will dictate a change in how things happen. Whereas at weddings, there's about 92 other ways something could go wrong, and you have to just be ready to on a flip of a switch, run with the next challenge. So that definitely set me up in a very interesting way for my videography career. This next adventure really kind of changed everything. I moved to Germany. When I was there, not only did I meet some of the coolest people, but I was thrown into a very, very different culture with a lot of very, very different traditions and a lot of very, very different ways of doing things. I actually had 2 different gigs while I was living in Germany, but I'll get to those in a second. While I was living in Germany, I actually got to travel to, I think it was 12 different countries over the course of a year. Of course, I took my camera absolutely everywhere. I don't feel like I actually utilized all of the photos and videos that I took while I was there to their fullest, and I may return to those just out of sheer curiosity to see how they compare now. I mean, that was almost 8 years ago to my photography style and expertise now. But that was an adventure that taught me patience, understanding for different cultures, flipped the switch on my love for travel and adventure, and taught me a little bit of German. I still not very good. My favorite line was, and I'm going to screw this up because it's been 8 years, but Ich spreche gleich eine Zweijährige, which roughly meant I can speak like a 2-year-old, which is pretty accurate. Best accomplishment still by far was when I told 2 little old ladies who had come up to me, spoke no English, and had just assumed blonde hair, white lady knew German. I told them how to get somewhere on the bus and what stop to get off on, entirely in German. Whether or not they realized, oh my God, this woman does not speak real German, they didn't say anything or indicate that they didn't understand me fully, and walked away very happy and said thank you and got on the bus. And I did a little happy dance in the middle of Nuremberg because I had just completely instructed people in German. So my life is complete, and that was about 8 years ago. Like, it doesn't go up from here, but that was my best lesson from that. So part of living in Germany, I started to work for a digital marketing company that was fully fledged in German, needed a launch in the States, and I was their marketing liaison, their marketing person. So I did social media marketing for a German company in English, which was fun. I had dabbled in graphic design and marketing in college. I am still not an expert in any way, but social media is forever changing. So at the time, I was pretty darn good. This was, again, like 7 or 8 years ago. And I worked with that company until I returned. And with that, I also worked with a photographer. She was by far my biggest influence into becoming the wedding photographer that I am today. Mia, her studio is Villa Flor Photography in Nuremberg. Gave me more opportunities than I even realized until now. I was a second shooter. I was a babysitter. I was an editor. I was a baby shusher when she did maternity photos or baby photos. I was a, you name it, whatever she needed, I was there for her. And the kicker in all of this is she spoke very little English. And I spoke very little German. And it didn't matter. She was the sweetest person. All she wanted was to help me grow and give me these opportunities. And in turn, I mean, I helped with what I could. I knew a lot of editing. I learned how to meet her style, how to edit the way that she did. Her children taught me German, and I taught them some English, and I've got amazing stories with them as well. But the biggest was the fact that I was second shooting with her at weddings and was able to experience some weddings that I don't think I'll ever be able to find anywhere, even in multicultural Miami. I watched as a bride got kidnapped in a Russian wedding. Not really, but they literally took the bride to a bar and told no one, and the groom is supposed to find the bride and then pay for the tab of whoever kidnapped her, which I thought was hilarious, but also terrifying, and this is just normal. I photographed some of my longest wedding days in Germany because they get ready at like 5 a.m. for a courthouse wedding at 7, then have breakfast, go to the church around noon, have this church ceremony, parade to the reception. There's like a gap of time, then reception at like 5 or 6, party. 2 a.m, the late night snacks come out, and then they party some more. So going on like 16 hours. At one point, like we should have gone home and taken a nap at one. Like it was insanity, and I loved every single minute of it. That lesson there also showed me why being a part of the wedding and being there for every single step. Not only does everyone feel so much more comfortable with you as a photographer, but because of that, you kind of blend into the background a little bit better and can capture some of those really raw moments or the little details. They're no longer distracted by your giant camera. They're looking at you as part of the wedding, as part of the day. And you can really get some amazing, easygoing, candid expressions and emotions because of it. I don't know if I could pick just one or two lessons from Mia. There's so many things that she did that influenced the way that I work now. And I'm forever grateful to her. So if you're ever in Germany and need a photographer, I will always send everyone to Mia. Then I returned. Came back to my hometown. And I actually got a job with one of my old jobs. If you're from Miami, you've probably heard of this place, but have never gone. At least that's what everyone tells me. I worked when I was 14, actually was one of like 4 employees at the time. But I was 14 and I loved what I did. So during the summer or after school or on the weekends, I was a tour guide at the Gold Coast Railroad Museum right next to the zoo. It is one of the coolest museums, but it's very old and totally haunted, by the way. Where you could look that one up. I confirmed it a few years later, but I was totally terrified as a kid, like turning on lights in some of these train cars, but I digress. I was a tour guide when I was a kid. So when I returned, I found out they were in need of a social media marketer, someone to do graphic design work and just marketing, general marketing for the organization. It is a nonprofit museum. And so I took up the opportunity. It wasn't it wasn't photography. It wasn't where I wanted to go, but I was still working my own business and still doing my own stuff, and restarting my business in the States. Of course, I had been in Germany for the last 2 years, so I wasn't doing a lot of American photo shoots. I didn't have my books filled up yet. So, okay, let me do some marketing with Gold Coast. That was more than anything, that was so much fun because I love trains. I know way too many random facts about trains now. The people there were hilarious and phenomenal and still are amazing. If you have not gone to visit, please go. It's cheap and it's a nonprofit, and you're not only helping an amazing organization, but you are seeing a Miami staple. There's also photo shoots available there too if you're looking for a photo shoot venue background. Very cool photo shoot location. But my lessons there were definitely in advertising, what it takes to advertise, how much is involved in being a nonprofit. Those lessons are a little more non-specific to what I became as a photographer, but a whole lot more to who I am as a person. There were a lot of life lessons, and funny enough, it actually got me into what would be my next adventure, because my next job, when I was hired, I was told by my boss that he actually picked up my resume and considered me specifically because his son loved Thomas the Train. So if you're familiar with Thomas the Tank Engine, he saw the Railroad Museum on my resume and went, oh, that's funny. And that's why he picked up my resume. So I can thank the Railroad Museum for getting me into my next genre of photography, because I then became a real estate photographer. I had no idea real estate photography was even a thing. Unless you're in the industry, unless you understand real estate, I didn't even think about that. Obviously, you need photos to sell a home, to sell a property. You need beautiful photos. Never even crossed my mind. Obviously, I had not bought my house at that point. I did not I've never I looked at Zillow only to make fun of whatever houses there were, or gasp at the prices of houses. So this was the start of a new genre, a new niche of photography, and I became the Miami market lead, which meant I worked with a handful of other photographers in the area for a big company, and to make things short, I convinced people that they needed professional photography and that using your cell phone to take photos was a bad idea. I think I did a pretty good job. I sold a lot of photos. I took a lot of photos. I was now introduced to the crazy world that is Miami real estate. My biggest lesson from that was how to sell myself. I got really good at my 30-second elevator pitch. I stood up in front of anywhere between 30 to 100 people at a time to give sales presentations, talk on the importance of photography. I taught photography a few times, and I learned that I'm a people person. I don't know if I probably already knew that one ahead of that. Like, that probably helped me get the job, but I very easily learned that I love helping others. I love teaching. I love instructing. I love being in front of an audience. And that goes back to when I was a dancer. If you didn't know that, fun fact. And being on stage was so much fun. I was never like the best dancer, but I loved it. It didn't matter. I had so much fun, and I loved being in a team, being part of something bigger, being on stage or helping others. I don't know. So I learned quite a bit there. After I had been in sales and in photography, I was doing real estate photography, branding photography, and commercial and headshots was my reign. And then pushing back into weddings slowly but surely. Weddings, because they are booked generally about a year in advance. When I first got it started and came back to the States, it took me about a year before I had a consistent booking of weddings once again. So now I'm getting into weddings. I'm getting into real estate. I'm doing a whole lot of my own stuff and loving it. I want to do full-time my business. We have at this point purchased a home. My husband, future husband, at this point he wasn't my husband yet, my boyfriend and I at the time decided we're going to buy a house. We're going to settle down in Fort Lauderdale, and we are going to start our life together. And I thought, everything is falling into place. My business is booming. I can stop doing this sales position, which was consistent income as any, 9 to 5 is, but I didn't want to have a boss. I wanted to do my own thing and be my own boss again. I wanted to make my own schedule, do my own thing, put more focus on weddings. So as of December 2019, I quit my day job and decided to go full time once again with my business. Yeah, you all went, oh, because future us knows what fun that decision was and what perfect timing that was. Yeah, because 3 months later, the world shut down. So I did what every other photographer did. I took photos of literally whatever I could. I have some phenomenal families that I can thank for keeping me afloat when they used me for every milestone photo and kept me going. That one was rough. I started my YouTube channel. I stopped my YouTube channel. I started Instagram and all the reels. I stopped all the reels. I launched programs and closed programs. I did absolutely everything that I could. My lesson, I can do it. Maybe not right now because it's the world pandemic, but I can do it. And if I can still hold my head above water during 1.5 year long world crisis, I can do this. Problem was, I wasn't doing it as fast as I wanted to in the middle of a pandemic, and I was starting to get a crunch for additional income. Simultaneously, all of this was happening while I was planning my own wedding. So that was fun. The stresses of planning a wedding doubled when you have to worry about social distancing, how far apart the chairs needed to be, if people had to wear masks or not, if the venue was going to close and say, cancel my whole wedding entirely. We got extremely lucky. We got married in October of 2020, had about half the guest list that we originally intended, which meant half of our families, a whole lot less of his family because they were from out of the country. It ended up being a perfect celebration in the middle of a thunderstorm. Yeah. But it was amazing. Do I want to redo? Absolutely. Like maybe 10 years from now, we'll do a redo, but it was perfectly imperfect. I learned a lot of lessons for that as well. Surprisingly, lessons for my own career. And you can look at my reviews of my vendors for my own wedding on my channel because, yeah, I had some fun problems. My biggest definitely was with the photography. Videography, amazing. Again, I told you a heck of a lot of it is about the editing and how you make people feel with the edits. So they did a great job with the video. And I can't necessarily complain about that one, but the photography. I definitely felt swindled and dimed. Felt like the photos that I really wanted to capture were not captured because either they were nowhere to be found, they didn't deem them acceptable on my list when I tried to converse with the lead photographer ahead of time. They were very scatterbrained. You can watch the full review on my YouTube channel because I can go into a lot about that, but it did change how I shoot weddings. I no longer want to restrict myself to a time. I was so stressed about the fact that they missed so many things because they didn't stay to the end of the night. They weren't there in the beginning to capture the getting ready, which, okay, that one's not so much. The end of the night, that definitely stressed me out. I didn't want anyone else to deal with that or to feel that way. So my lesson was I'm ignoring everything else that the industry says, and I'm not doing that way anymore. And I'm not going to put my brides through that because it doesn't make sense to me. We come back from our honeymoon, and I begin my second job as a real estate photography professional. This time, I'm doing a little bit more of what I love, and I'm teaching. I start to work with a real estate marketing company that is recruiting photographers all over the country, and I'm helping teach. I'm showing people the ropes, tips and tricks on how to be their best real estate photographer, videographer, 3D modeler, and I love it. I'm hanging out with the coolest team. Everything is remote. I can work in my PJs if I need, which was a whole lot like I was already editing at home, and I could still do my own on the weekends. Worked as wedding photographer and family newborn photographer, and switched a little bit more into commercial. Now this is where the story gets interesting. And that leads us to today. Of course, you've probably heard of the quote, jack of all trades, and it's generally kind of used in a negative connotation, but some of you may appreciate it though as a positive, as I do, because the full quote is, the jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. See, William Shakespeare was trying to give us a compliment, and I am proud to have become a jack of all trades. I work as a wedding photographer, engagement photographer, and family photographer on the weekends. I shoot real estate and branding and commercial photography during the week, and get to do everything that I love on a daily basis. I once again no longer work for a corporation. I am really hoping this doesn't mean that in 2 months' time I'm going to run into another worldwide pandemic, because it seems to be the track record right now. I'm really hoping that this time around we don't have to worry about the world shutting down once more. And I'm gonna put some heavy bets on that one. But that means I'm on my own again. 10 years. I made it 10 years. And I'm excited for the next 10. Thank you to everyone who has been with me on this journey along the way. I need to thank every single mentor that has been a part of this journey. And I know I've missed quite a few names in this video. There's a lot more people that I should personally thank. I hope that now, having shared who I am and what's gotten me here, even just that, like, a third of my lifetime. Oh my God, that's a weird way to say that. Oh my God, it's been a third of my lifetime. I'm ready for every challenge that is thrown my way. So, ready to get to work? If you need a photographer in South Florida, let me know. And I'll see you soon. You've probably heard this. Oh, come on, my hair. Jeez. It is not cooperating today.